short-term, medium-term, and long-term solutions that all need to be part of the solution. And so in the short term, growers are going to need to get more creative with their relationships with wineries, whether that's doing sorts of joint ventures or crop sharing arrangements, or simply extended terms, allowing the wineries to be able to take advantage and take more of the opportunity to take more time to pay for the grapes, so they'll be more comfortable taking risks, developing new brands, building up more inventories, and that's one short-term solution for them. Mid-term, I think growers need to look at getting more vertical. The growers don't have a lot to do with the demand side of the equation. The growers have a lot to do with the supply side of the equation. The supply side has been reasonably stable. The demand side has been a lot less stable. And so by growers getting more vertical in the industry, whether that's developing their own brands, acquiring brands, partnering with brands, but controlling more of their destiny, so moving from just the supply side to the demand side of it. And then long term, I think you've got the best idea for the long term one.
We talked this morning about the idea of cooperative agricultural shared investments like we see with Treetop, like we see with Welch's, or like we see with Italian cooperatives and their systems of using oversupply to produce lower price wines or entry point wines or distillate material. So it's something that doesn't really exist from a business perspective in the state of Washington, but it is something that is certainly kind of endemic in the rest of the drinks business globally. There's always seems to be a distillation arm, because wine and spirits and all commodities go into oversupply at different points in the market and over years. So if we give ourselves an outlet to sell some of this excess, maybe it's something that we could reprogram and build around when we're replanting, when we're removing vineyards that are aged or decaying or unsold, or in the industry's looking to pivot and reset, and hops isn't an automatic reset, and blueberries are getting saturated, and apples are hard to pivot because what's the hop variety going to be in 5 years? It's unpredictable. So maybe this is a way to build another predictable revenue stream within this agricultural space that we can all benefit from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's moving from beyond their own individual businesses to looking at it philosophically as a region, as building a true type of cooperative, which requires also providing some sort of sales efforts there. But that's how we can collectively solve the problem, and also create something with more volume that's available on the national market. So if it's a cooperative wine program, one of the challenges with Washington wine on the national market is that there aren't a lot of brands available on the national market. And if we had one that was really brand Washington, the thing that we can all believe in, that's a brand that benefits everybody, kind of raises the whole tide, but is really sourced largely off of the excess in the market. So it really solves two problems with one stone, much like, you know, one of the most beloved producers in Italy is Produttori di Barbaresco, right? Everybody thinks it's this amazing boutique winery in Piedmont, and it's just one of the greatest cooperatives in the world.
Industry tends to follow precedent, right? Like once you've seen the precedent set forth and be successful and continue to exist as long as a cooperative like Treetop has, then you could just explain that precedent and say, sure, we could follow this model. Here we are with this oversupply. I heard that it used to be the apples that couldn't float to the edge that sunk or were somehow defected is what got put into Treetop at the time, but now we've got unwanted wine sitting in a tank, and you know, it's not much reimagination that needs to happen. It's a model that's worked globally for, you know, hundreds of years plus in some cases. Why not take advantage instead of be defeated? I think there's plenty of margin in cosmetics. So resveratrol extractions from wine, you know, we've got a great army of scientists at Washington State that can teach us all sorts of things about how we may want to extract that in the most efficient way. Like we can still community this project together and build back stronger into these luxury tiers that we seem to be soaring in for the benefit grape growers across the state. So if we can kind of separate and strategize and find best land use, and all these things are still fairly new in this young, relatively young agricultural experience that we're all working in and benefiting from right now, that we just, cooperatives could be a plan. There are many plans, there's many potential theories that could be aroused to make use of this oversupply in lots of different ways, get more brands and distribution, like Erik was saying, and make our presence in the market a bit broader and bigger than that 4% share that we were talking about this morning, just to kind of get some mass collective. We've farmed on a mass scale successfully for a long time and efficiently, and when you're growing distillate material, you want to hit a high crop load, you want a healthy canopy, you want these things that growers here have been trained to do for a long time. So it's all the infrastructure is there. We just need to kind of collaborate and come upon a plan or several plans to kind of work our way out of this.
Well, and Washington might be most uniquely ready to embrace something like that, because unlike other wine growing regions that tend to be heavily siloed, most of the wine growing in Washington came out of these diversified ag families and diversified ag companies. So working in other crops is not an unusual thing to Washington growers, not as unusual as it is in other parts of the world where, your father grew grapes, your grandfather grew grapes, your great-grandfather grew grapes. Most of these people that are wine grape growers, their father grew apples, their father grew cherries, their father grew hops, and so they already have experience and exposure to other business models that are outside the wine industry. So I would be hopeful that Washington would be more uniquely receptive.